falling off cliffs and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's right there in the rulebook where I don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to throw these deadly guys at you, and once you tap your combat save, that's the alarm bell to you that you're going, wait a minute, I don't have any more of these things.
So, Norman, I got to ask you, are you going to look into adding a coup de grace skill?
Actually, impaling weapons are ideal for cooing because an unconscious target cannot retreat.
Well, I mean, let me not just coup de grace. I mean what Liam wanted to do to eviscerate a corpse.
Oh, you mean like butchering a corpse that's already there? Well, I thought about it and I said, even if I give it to him, like letting him overkill the corpse, the guys up on the hill weren't 4 meters away. So.
Well, I know, but I was thinking about those. I just found it funny. It was like, wow, I didn't think you guys would be insane enough to do that.
I might think about it. We already have a couple things in the game where we have, there's Scary Fighter, which gives you a bonus against people who are afraid. Why you would use that, I don't know, but we give that to some of the monsters. So, like when you come to the village and ask, the villagers, what's the bad news? Say, oh my god, a monster ate everybody in town. And you go, guys, fight the monsters, and you're macho player characters who rally each other, so it's not getting the fear bonus against you. So later you can say, oh, the monster ate the entire village because they were all afraid of it, but we were macho player characters. We got that a lot from the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, where in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, what really makes the monsters dangerous is they cause fear. And we already have a kill everybody on sight ability. There is a ability in the game called Mob Fighter that basically works like the old-fashioned cleave from D&D 3rd Edition. If you hit somebody and knock them down, you get to hit somebody else. So you can kill a lot of people that way. I could see one for defiling a corpse. It really depends on what you want to encourage. The major reason for the overkill rule was to add drama to the game. One of the big things that showed up in playtest was there was we had a Pirates of the Caribbean type moment where our heroes were on a dock trying to get to a boat, and they were surrounded by all these bad guys who were just swarming them, and our hero was, they were just swarmed. They said, oh my god. And one of them finally pulled out a pistol, got a lucky hit, and overkilled one of the pirates. And that guy's head exploded, and suddenly 6 guys just suddenly became afraid all at once, like, oh my god, and they all backed off because their friend's head just exploded, and that bought everybody enough time to get up and move, because they retreated for one round. They just ran for cover, and then next round they just came right back out and regrouped again. But it was that kind of moment you see in a movie or something like that, where our heroes are getting overwhelmed, and you have the big money shot with a big special effect grisly damage death, and that buys our heroes enough time to escape while the bad guys come back. And that's what the overkill rule is really for. It's for those rapid turnarounds, or I guess it's also for when you guys totally outclass the opposition. Like, when you show up and explode the first guy like a blood sausage, the lower level guys are just going to run off. There are abilities you can get to be immune to overkill, and you will you should be seeing it later in your careers when you fight more grizzled veterans, but not these low level penny ante bandits.
I got to admit, man, I'm having fun with it.
I am. Yeah.
I'm glad. I know a lot of people say it's like, oh, it's the furry setting. It's like, well, you can see we chose the furry setting because it's so dynamic. I know Skitch was asking about other projects, so I'm more than happy to talk to him about some of the other stuff. We got some other things working on it. The system we had a all modern day type. I always want to say Counter-Strike, but kind of like a Bad Company or Rainbow Six type inspired game that used the same mechanics for it, and the morale mechanics were really important in that. Like, you guys would be in gunfights, and the constant retreating and running away from gunfire was good. So we got other stuff like that. But Ironclaw is the big, more popular one, and I'm glad you're really enjoying it. And I'd be happy to play again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to set up a break sometime when we're doing Wormwick or something.
Or if we want to do more indie games too. I'm a big fan of indie games, both the ones we print and the ones other people print.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you. You're big into the indie game scene, right?
Yeah.
You have connections with any other indie game authors who might be interested in being on the show?
I can make a couple inquiries. I'm not sure if they're as tech savvy as I am. I know a couple of them. I can see if I can put some around. I do belong to a couple of gaming associations. Forward them your way. And of course, you should announce. I think you already did announce in the forum, so I'll give them the link. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
I'll
I mean, even if you don't, I mean, I'm sure. Would you be up for running any other indie games too? Maybe even just give them exposure.
I love game mastering. I mean, I'm willing to run other people's games. I love the Doctor Who game by the Cubicle people, who also make The Laundry, by the way. That's the game where apparently nerds run the. It's where webmastering skills give you occult power. So I'm simplifying. I'm waiting for some nerd rage in the chat room, but yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. I love playing these new games. Now I will say that, you know, as much as people are nerds about video games, like you watch these guys play, and we just played the Conduit 2 and it totally sucked. I can be a lot like that about tabletop games, which makes me feel both like a nerd and really old.
If you could figure out a way to make Burning Wheel or Aces and Eights less complicated, let me know.
Oh God! Oh man, it breaks my heart because every time I play Aces and Eights, there's like so many things I could think of to make it. You may have noticed a lot of my biases, a lot of the things I like. Like, for example, complicated initiative. Everybody loves to have those complicated initiatives, and I'm not really sure why people do that. It's complicated enough for me as a game master to move all these guys around. And you can see in Ironclaw, we deliberately said, look, screw it. I want you guys to work together. I love it when you guys are sitting there saying, why don't you let me go first so I can kill this guy? And then you like work together and then you do it. When you do segmented initiative, people don't seem to want to do that. They don't want to work together a lot. And I think that's really hurting what the experience should be about. You should be buffing and supporting each other.
Well, while you were away, I was actually debating with myself whether to actually do that in D&D to simplify the combat.
It's the way it used to. Well, you know, what you can really do, and this is going to be funny, is that. So if you're playing D&D and half the guys roll above if you do group initiative, half the guys who roll above it, they can all just delay until they're 1 point in front of the bad guys. Like, if the bad guys are going to 13, all the PCs can delay until 14 and then attack. And then all the ones who have 12 initiatives or less can just delay until the end of the round, let it roll over to the next round, and then go on 14 the next round. And it would be exactly the same thing.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. 9 times out of 10, you don't even have to do that, because 9 times out of 10, your whole group of monsters is going to roll somewhere similar. And more often than not, it's going to be just good guys versus bad guys anyway.
Now, what makes Ironclaw work a little bit better with that is Ironclaw has the focus rule, where you may know that if you roll really high on your initiative, some of you can interrupt the other team. So even though we have that rule of people ask me, like, the side that attacks go first, well, you know, won't the players always say yes? They will, but if you noticed, if the bad guys get focus, they will just...
they'll do an interrupt.
Yeah, they'll interrupt you, and they can just do that, and that makes up for a lot of it. So, and the counterattacks also make up for it in Ironclaw. When people attack you, it's not that they're helpless; they're dishing out damage at the same time you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could try it in D&D. Jonathan Tweet, who wrote D&D 3rd Edition and made the current initiative system that's also in 4th Edition, he wrote a game called Ars Magica. And in Ars Magica, they didn't have initiative. They had a system called First Strike. It was called the First Strike. Mm-hmm. And basically, that was the, people who rolled high enough on their first strike went in the surprise round and got an action off before everybody else. And then there were weapons that added to first strike and weapons that didn't. Small, fast weapons like bows and knives had a high first strike bonus, and slow weapons like crossbows and halberds didn't. And you got to, and basically, you still divide up in the sides, but people who rolled high enough at the first strike went first. And that can be a big difference. There's a lot that can happen in D&D, so you could try it. I'm pretty sure some other people have probably tried some variants on that. But yeah, I noticed when you have to have a whole tool devoted solely to tracking initiative, you have to think to yourself, what are we getting out of this mechanic? What's it simulating for us? That's I think Ironclaw could go the other way, because I think, as some people commented, there's no tables in Ironclaw. And we said, I didn't want a game that was complicated enough to use tables. And some people fire back, I think you need some more tables. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we need some tables.
One thing I noticed that's kind of neat, though, like some interesting directions you can go with the gifts in this one. Like, for example, with I'm trying to find some ones that were just kind of interesting. Like, for my character, I already have a good handful of gifts. If I were to turn around, like, I already have Veteran and Resolve, and if I were to go ahead and pick up Haggling, I could then pick up another gift to pick up Mercenary as a secondary career and add an additional D4 to all of its related skills.
Okay, now who here has played Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, like first or second?
None of us.
Anybody? I thought Arclight might have.
Actually, Bravery would be. Yeah.
I think actually our friend Gav plays it, but he's not here.
Yeah. Now, see, that was the original game where people had careers, and you could like move on to another career, and that's what kind of gelled in second edition. You're right. You can pick up more careers, and there's actually a rule for switching your career. And some people really like to play the game where they like to say, "Okay, I started the game." As an explorer, but since I'm an explorer and I already have like literacy and research, I can move on to be, so literacy and cartography, I can move on to be like a scout, or literacy is a gateway to some of the wizardry stuff. So you've already got one gift in there, so you can buy more careers. That's why the career column on the character sheet's actually double wide, because if you have 2 career dice, those stack right on top of each other. And if you want to buy up 2 careers separately, go for it. We originally had a much more complicated system for buying up your careers, and in the end, as I keep telling people, it's like, we could be twice as complicated and give you twice as much crunch, but in the end, if it's something like only 10% that people care about, we left it out. So there is room, I think, for some silliness. Like I think Arclight pointed out, like, hey, this trappings gift, I can just throw my armor in the river and then say, hey, Game Master, give me a new set of armor. And it's like, I could have we originally had 5 paragraphs describing all the rules how this works, and we said, let's sort of put in 1 and just say, look, it's up to your game host. Don't do anything stupid, or don't be silly with it, and we'll be all right. And if you can be cool, we can be cool. So,
well, I got to hit the bathroom, guys, but this was fun. I think maybe we're going to call it here for a night in terms of gaming.
So if we pick it up, just let me know time in advance. I usually have a Saturday crew that I'm gaming with, so that they'll want to know what nights I'm not going to show up. And
I mean, even if we don't have to do it on Saturdays either. I mean, I'm sure we could come up with another day in case we want to skip a day or something.
And I always love gaming. I'm actually free nights nowadays, so I'm free for this. I live and breathe this stuff, so I love it, and I want to thank you for the opportunity. You guys are great to game with. You all made great characters. You all had good characterization. You approach the threats with intelligence and fun, and you just had a sense of fun about it, and you all had different approaches, and I think you were all different, at differing skill levels. But I'm hoping you all really enjoyed it, and it's the website is sanguine.com. Woo!
Sanguine.com. Woo!
And I just want to do a quick shout out to Hutch and Blue Mood for their House Playground server where they run TF2, where they run 2 Fort, the best map ever.
Oh,
so
God.
Just a quick shout out to them. 2 Fort, best map ever.
Best map ever.
Now I lost all my credibility because they're going, you play 2 Fort? Well, not just 2 Fort. There's also 2 Fort Rainy and 2 Fort Icy.
Oh. I'm going to end the recording right there. Oh, God.
All right. Thanks, everybody.